Many thanks again for rejoining us on the program TMI on the ITV network. Well, today on the show, we'll be looking at a wide range of issues as it relates to the nation in terms of its aspirations, in terms of what we want to achieve in the years to come and many more years to come, particularly looking at it from where we are coming from, where we are today, where we are going. This question will always arise because of the stark realities of the challenges that we have in the country. For some, they will blame it on leadership. For others, it's on followership. And for others, the overhang of colonialism and neo-colonialism, they are still very much around. But I'd like to welcome at this juncture our guest who is joining us via Zoom from Lagos, the president of Patriotic League of Lawyers, Barrister Abubakar Yusuf. He's a former SUG president. He was the NNPC presidential spokesman for Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso in the just concluded election. Barrister Yusuf, many thanks as always for joining us on the show this lovely Monday morning.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here again.
Okay, let's just build up the conversation from the last independence anniversary, 63rd independence anniversary, which is always topical because we're not where we ought to be. And it also gives us the opportunity to look at where we are coming from, where we are today, and where we are going. For many people, the current crop of leaders in the saddle of the country, they've lost touch with some of the ideas and ideals that they took over from, or they took from our forefathers, as it were. What are your thoughts along those lines, and how do you think that has also brought us to where we are today in terms of the challenges that we have?
Yeah, thank you so much. Like you mentioned, the independence celebration is almost a yearly ritual. Just had it as usual, but it was a lack of glitz and glamour because the citizenry, they are not too happy about what is happening in the country. This is actually a defining moment. We discovered that after our first independence, we had a very brilliant and exciting foreign policy. And you know that Abubakar Tafawa, the Prime Minister, and his counterpart, Dr. Nadia Azikiwe, the first Crosspass or Mystic, they carried out after that independence was the Anglo-Nigerian Defense Pact. And the students led the way, by attacking that act. Indeed, they led the body, the National Association of Nigerian Students, or NOS, as it was, to the Internal Affairs Minister, Mohammed Alhaji Ribadu, lambasting and lampooning government as it were, feudalistic Balewa and opportunistic Ezekwe. The Anglo-Nigerian Defense Pact was appropriated, was quickly repealed. That was when the student movement had this initiative of directing the foreign policy of the country. But right now, you will agree with me that we really have no foreign policy. Our foreign policy is blind and very uninteresting. The other time we also had exciting foreign policy was perhaps during the era of Murtala Muhammad and Obasanjo regime, when the BP was virtually taken over, and that one led to the independence, so to say, of South Africa. And they had to think twice whether they were to carry out the apartheid policy or they were to be welcomed back to the Committee of Nations. So, apart from these two exciting moments, Anglo-Nigerian Defense Pact and the national accreditation of BP by Murtala Muhammad / Obasanjo regime, a foreign policy at the very blind and expired.
Let's talk about the issue of governance. Yes, the issue of governance and impacts on the lives of the ordinary Nigerians. I recall very vividly, vividly that in most of our campaigns even till tomorrow, what is still very prominent is the promise of water supply, electricity, good roads, and all of those things. One would have expected that at least with the amount of wealth and resources at the disposal of this great nation, to an extent would have been able to surmount some of these challenges. What is your take on the cause of why we're still where we are with all of these things that are still very prevalent in the society today?
Well, again, I want to say that we are suffering reverses in terms of there's a big chasm or yawning gap between the manifesto of most candidates and what they really manifest when they come into office. Their manifestos, they are always very beautiful, other than that of the NNPP, as initiated by my leader, Dr. Musa Rabi Kwakwa. So most of their party manifestos, I'm happy to say that I'm sure the presidential candidates not even read, they're just saying. So the same thing, is ideological sermonizing and puppeteering. So we are where we are because nobody's held accountable. Once you are voted into office, that means you should be able to look at the process which has been driving a particular government. The person in power or the government power takes over, and the people therein continue to act as slaves in a very big gulag or big prison. That's exactly what we are facing. But in order not to be too unfair to the present administration, I would say it's still too early, though 100 days have passed, to really pass a judgment. But if we were to pass a judgment now, I would say that the government is yet to manifest improve on the lives of the people.
We've seen a situation over the years where rather than the electorate actually electing their leaders, as is a norm in the practice of democracy, it ends up in the judiciary. And many times you look at the grounds for this decision by the judiciary, sometimes on educational qualification, forged documents and all of that. I mean, we can't forget the issue of Salisu Buhari. We can't forget the issue of the Bayelsa State governorship election in 2019. And even the present administration has also been bogged down by this whole gamut of conversation around certificates and all of that.
Yes. The purport, the summary of that we are yet to have our best. And I think only the best will be good enough for our beleaguered country, Nigeria. By the time you have some of these drawbacks, dogging our political elected or selected members of the executive or national assembly, it means that, like the bonbons of gold, we have actually learned nothing. We have forgotten nothing. When the bonbons were taken into exile, and they spent about 22 years in exile. When they came back, that reason that took them to exile, they were so determined to bring back that anarchic past. That's what scholars of history and contemporary politics who say, quote, a dynasty of the bonbon, in spite of your 22 years in exile, we have actually learned nothing, we have forgotten nothing. Despite the fact that we have been experimenting our political system for a very long time, since 1999, I would say we have learned nothing, we have forgotten nothing.
Fantastic. There are questions about who is actually leading Kano State, as it were. What with the fact that some of the developments there, it's a major fallout of the last general elections. Your principal, for example, was a very prominent candidate in the last election. But since the new government came into force in Kano State, people are finding it difficult to really, decipher who is in charge of the state. Is it the Abba Yusuf elected, or your principal, who was the presidential candidate of the NNPC? This is against the background that in many functions, the governor is less visible and your principal is more visible. Isn't this the challenge that we have in our political climate where godfatherism seems to have taken over the day, and there's been some sort of internal rumblings in the NNPC?
Well, let me tell you something about the NNPP. NNPP is so that's a
NNPP,
party in the state, Kano State. Because in the first place, Kano State is not. We do not even agree that Kano State reflects our strength. Our strength is actually the entire 19 states in the north. If we have to conduct a free and fair election, NNPP is going to come up top. That explains why even the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is always asking for the hands of NNPP. Same thing goes for Atiku, the presidential candidate of PDP, and even Obi. Other than paying visit to Dr. Musa Rabiu Kwakwaso, they have also been calling because he's the undeniable leader of the entire 90 states as such a part of the South. Anytime we are going to have a free and fair election, Dr. Musa Rabiu Kwakwaso is going to emerge victorious. And again, back to the issue of visibility. Don't forget that Abba Yusuf, aka Abba Gida Gida, that is Abba from house to house, is so consumed with trying to wrong the rights inflicted on the psyche of the Kano people by the last regime, as Awiyat by Agunduje and his man that just left office, Gawuna. Gawuna, I just want to tell you this, after the result of the election, call MNPP and even call the governor to congratulate him. The governor is so consumed, is so encumbered by all the atrocities committed by the last party that's led by Kunduji's stroke Gawuna that we have time for any external thing. Don't forget that only 3 days ago, they also tried to midwife a marriage, where 1,800 couples were involved. This was part of his manifesto. They financed that marriage, and those women are actually, some are widows, some are single, and all that. Not only did they finance that marriage, they also gave them take-off grants and take-off paraphernalia, like cooking utensils, beddings, and even some practices of marital stability.
So Barrister Abubakar, is marriage an economic empowerment? Is marriage an economic empowerment?
Yeah. Yes. You know, in the North, marriage is taken very, very seriously. Marital vows, marital relationship. If you are not married, the twin concept of infidelity in quotes, sets in. Either the man becomes a thief or the woman becomes a woman of his virtue of prostitution. So in order to first of all take away this twin virtue of satanic influence, the NNPP of the firm view that there are some people who are widows, there are some people who are married purely because of
but you also agree with me that some of these people that you're talking about, these over 1,000 people that have been sponsored to get married, many of them are jobless, no means of livelihood. Does it make sense for a man to get married? You can't take care of the wife. That's what even the Quran sees that as an infidel, as it were.
Well, maybe I didn't explain that aspect.
Yes.
The NNPP does not just marry or does not encourage marriage. They also engage in teaching you some kind of development. If if you are versatile in let's just say electronics and all that, they pass through. They don't just marry you and leave you to the streets. If you are like the woman, they give them money to start petty trades. And like the men, they encourage them to also start their business, be it mechanic, electrician, tailoring, carpentry. So they, as we speak, after that marriage, they are not just turned out to go to the streets or to start their life, but they are rather encouraged. They are rather trained how they are going to be useful to the society and take on the very, very difficult task of living among people who are people employed. NNPP does not just marry you and leave you onto the streets of Kano. But you discover that after the swearing of Abba Yusuf, when he left there, he went to the rehabilitation center where the drug addicts were being rehabilitated and all that. Gawuna, or the man, Kunduji midwife, left that place desolate. So as we speak, the rehabilitation center for drug users is being rehabilitated so that they can be useful members of the society.
Okay. All right. Let me quickly let's scale up a little bit because of time. Expectations were high on the presidential elections court in terms of its outcome and all of that. A lot of public opinions, and then when the judgment was given, there were ill feelings, as is always the case. There was a couple of satisfaction. I mean, you have people on both sides of the divide. But there's this comment that was credited to the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Aruwola, who said that public opinion is not the constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Many people interpreted that to mean that he was literally referring to the gamut of views and opinions that heralded that judgment, and perhaps giving insight into what to expect without speculating at this time from the Supreme Court. What are your thoughts?
Well, the CJ has expressed his opinion, and in matters of opinion, there can be no dispute. God still build no charge. But I disagree with him, even though I respect his view. The great American president, I cannot easily recall, has said, quote, that public opinion is everything. Without it, nothing will succeed. Without it, everything will fail, of course. That's not to say that the judiciary should be told to whimsical public opinion on the streets and all that kind of thing. What we have seen in essence is that you must take into cognizance if you are going to give a judgment that is binding and subsisting before you give your judgment. Like the judgment that just happened in Kano, that was a judicial haste. Whilst the judges were eschewed the place, they gave that judgment via Zoom. I'm not saying it's illegal. It means that they were not ready to defend the judgment. Apart from that, they also exceeded the bounds of judicial requirement by lambasting and lampooning even the iconic cap and putting on that of NNPP has been reflective of a secret society. You all know me, the University of Benin. I was not just the president of Student Union. I was also the president of MUSA, the University Student Association. I have nothing to do with that type of impression which the judges get. So not only did they give the judgment which we are challenging hotly at the Court of Appeal, and which we believe is going to be set aside at the Court of Appeal as being anti-fast and anti-law, they also went to the field and took the position of a referee, and by lambasting the party there. But thank God that we have put our facts together, and we are very sure that in no distant future, that judgment will suffer the violent hammer of dismissal, either in the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court.
Okay, let's just quickly look at the issue of corruption in Nigeria. That seems to be one thing that successive administrations have tried to eradicate, but it looks like the more they try, the more they get overwhelmed, and then when an administration leaves, you see the trails of corruption, which means that all those efforts are not really yielded the needed result. We've seen the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu appointing a new EFCC chairman. What are your expectations by way of setting an agenda for the new EFCC chair?
Well, we expect the new chairman who will be facing the Senate very soon to really give the required human face to the mission. Don't forget that the EFCC was set up by Obasanjo's regime in order to give credence to the police that was increasingly becoming lackadaisical, and people almost passed the vote of no confidence in the police. But thank God we are having a lawyer. I've also had an argument whether he's qualified or qualified for the position. A man who has spent 22 years post-call experience, substantial part in crime fighting, intelligence gathering, and all that. I'm so marveled when people say that it's unqualified because of the provision of Section 2.3 of the EFCC Act, which is that the whosoever is going to be the chairman must have, they must be above the rank of assistant commissioner of police or a related field. Somebody who has spent 22 years post-school experience. If you are joining the police, even as an ASP, which is the entry point for any young guy, it's not even a professional. You are risen to the position of a commissioner. So I think the new man that I know personally, who has been very, very active in crime fighting, will be able to take the commission to a new height. And don't forget too that this is the period whereby we should also look at it from the spectacles of ethnic balance, even though I'm not an ethnic champion. This is the first time we're having a chairman of the EFCC from the southern part of the country. So we expect a lot from the newly anointed chairman, subject to the validation by Senate. I hope Senate and I trust Senate will proceed to validate that nomination. It's going to give the EFCC a human face. And I think this will be over when you have detention without trial, torture without justification, and even release without approach. If we look at it, it's the man that we are always in the commission. I think we expect a new dawn in the commission. If we arrest the man, this idea of going to court to get an order to detain for the next 1 month, I think we have to have a second look at it. And since it's a lawyer, I'm sure the prosecution department of each state is going to be enhanced so that issue of acquittal or conviction will be faced seriously. Okay. But when you have somebody who is not a lawyer, heading a commission, it becomes like that police mentality, police brutality, an extension of NSAF, if you like, so often made manifest. So I think we should all come together and give a look at Mr. President, necessary, especially Senate, necessary encouragement that Sima's candidacy should be endorsed. It's hurrah for the law profession. It's also hurrah for ethnic balance, so to say, even though I'm not an ethnic jingoist, like you know me for a very long time, even from university up to now.
I'd like to take you back to the issue of educational qualification and political aspirations. We've seen over the years that this has become the grounds for some even elected candidates to lose their seat, and then some it becomes a very, very thorny issue, a major distraction for the government that is elected. How do you think we can deal with this issue, especially at the level of the political parties?
Yes. So this issue, is what we have here, or the main cause of this gradual move to mediocrity, is this issue of highest bidder. You discover that the highest bidder is often given the ticket. How else can you justify a man that has stayed all his life in maybe Dubai or America, flying into the country to get a ticket and is in the Senate without campaigning, without the people knowing him? It's just a very simple question. He has bought that ticket. So each political party should at least sit back and present the best. But the main reason why we're having this lackadaisical attitude towards lawmaking and even execution of sin is that we don't have our best. And paradoxically enough, those who are educated or those who have the requisite mental capacity, they don't have the money to contest an election. Because contesting an election is not actually, it's a party. It requires a lot of money. It requires a lot of paying homage or worshipping the temple of clay-footed gods. Most people are educated. They don't want to worship in the temple of clay-footed gods. So you have to shortchange the issue of getting the best to represent us. But be it noted that each political party should ensure that they bring forth their best, so that this issue of taking them back or having a multiplicity of names or not having the educational qualification as required by the Constitution and even the Electoral Act is drastically reduced, if not completely obliterated.
If you just join us, it's still TMI on the ITV network. We're speaking with Barrister Yusuf Abubakar, who is the President, Patriotic League of Lawyers. He was the NNPP presidential spokesman to Dr. Rabi Musa Kwankwaso. They just concluded not too long ago, really, 2023 presidential election, giving us his views and perspectives on a wide range of issues as it affects the nation, as it affects the polity, and what can be done for us to change the narratives and move forward. We'll just take you a bit now to look at some of the development on the foreign stage. I mean, you can't listen to the news or even read the newspapers and what have you without having streaming headlines or screaming headlines captioning what's happening in the fight between Hamas and Israel, with the world powers either, preaching peace or taking sides, as it were. But unfortunately, like they always say, when two elephants fight, the grasses will suffer. On social media, on new media, there are pictures, there are videos of women and children suffering, being killed, and all of that. And in most cases, you find some babies that are just delivered within the war, or some have been abandoned by their parents trying to flee for safety. This has really characterized this war. But we have on good authority, like that Hamas were the ones who first made the first strike. And that's where we're getting retaliation from Israel, as it were. And this has been an age-long war, as it were. I'd like to get your take on this without any bias or something else.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let me quickly correct that impression of two elephants fighting. It's not a question of two elephants at all. It's a question of an elephant versus Iraq or Hamas. We can all speculate, we can all guess rightly what the outcome will be. The Jewish state of Israel is the fourth most powerful, they control the fourth most powerful army in the world, nuclear power, highest recipient of America practices of relationship and all that. So, they have a different platform. The Jewish state of Israel is very, very mighty, but unfortunately lacks a moral stand. It's good to look at it from a very, liberal viewpoint, because I have watched social media and even the mainstream media. I discovered that a lot of people are often carried away by this static thinking that the Jewish state of Israel represents Christianity. They do not even know that it is forbidden to preach Christ in some parts of the state of Israel. You will discover that this problem has been caused by the Europeans and even America themselves, and they can also find a solution. The Jewish state of Israel, created between 1947 and 1948, was like a placatory thing to placate the Holocaust. The Jews suffered in the hands of Hitler, and they decided to find a home state for the Jews, and they found Palestinian. It's even historically correct to say that they even came to Uganda. The Jews rejected Uganda. Thank God they did not come to Uganda. You will discover that definitely for a set of people to take the laws into their hands, knowing full well that they are not coming back because of the obvious mighty nature of the Jewish army, shows that there must be something desperate. Palestine is regarded as the biggest open prison in the world. Those people are under siege. And you discover that the Jewish state of Israel is also an outlaw. Since the creation of Israel 1947 to 1948, they have been able to reject the resolutions of United Nations, more than 15 resolutions. Means that they are outlaw and nobody is talking about it. What we really need now is a two-state solution. Not this issue of coming back to say that, they are going to be crushed, Hamas will be crushed and all that. When you have crushed Hamas, the question I ask is Zionist leader, Benjamin Netanyahu, and his sound collaborators, which includes but not limited to America, Britain, France, Germany, and whatever, is that how are you going to win the peace after winning the war? So I think the globe, the world, should come and sit together again and review the terms of that two-state solution. Obliterating completely the Hamas from the face of the earth is not the way to go at all. And I also do not subscribe to Hamas taking anybody as hostage or even killing anybody, holding anybody to ransom in the fight against the Jewish state of Israel. Likud Party and Benjamin Netanyahu, who is the leader, has been able to show to the world that this is their most righteous, development since the creation of the state of Israel in 1947. People are killed, people are taken into custody, people are the Palestinians. They have really no rights. That's why they refer to them as the biggest prison. The premises are the biggest open prison in the world. Let us look at the cause of this type of horrific experience of trying to attempt to take over Israel, which is practically impossible. We know that it's not two elephants fighting. It's a question of the biggest or the fourth largest army in the world that is even nuclear empowered, taking on the Iraq army like Hamas. The end product is expected, but have we won the war? How do we win the peace? This is what we engage the entire world. It's unfortunate that America is becoming increasingly disqualified. It is next move to ensure that peace is made manifest. Because from day one, we moved their military armament towards the Middle East. And
all right.
Their interests.
All right. Let's just pause it there for today. Barrister Abubakar Yusuf, that's the much we can have on this conversation. But we know that we'll always have you here any other time to look at some of these issues that are bedeviling the nation and what pathway can be taken to address it. Thank you so much for your time, Barrister Abubakar Yusuf.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Once more, I'm excited to be with you.
Thank you.